Man, after the last set of videos, we deserve this, man. I did not expect those videos to be as decisive as they were, nigga. I was in the comments fighting for my life, man. We were discussing morality and what a human life is worth, but it's over with. For now, anyway. Today, we can all just sit back, relax, enjoy the Saturday morning with maybe a cup of coffee in hand, some toast, as we discuss something far less controversial. Root race theory and theosophy. You know, it must be a good theory when the word race is in there, but the reason it's important to discuss them is because they heavily tie into the idea that all of Teyvat is trapped in a never-ending Samsara cycle that sees the same events replayed over and over. I'm not gonna waste too much time bullshitting just because even for me this theory was so damn confusing to write, and I mean, look, as a God-fearing Catholic, I could feel my eyes burning as I was looking up all this occult shit, so without further ado, let's start. What is a Samsara cycle, and why do people think Teyvat is in one? In the real world, a Samsara is simply a cycle of life, death, and rebirth, found mostly in religions like Hinduism and Buddhism. It's a never-ending cycle meant to encapsulate that life is a never-ending journey of birth, death, and rebirth. One important part to take away from this is the idea of karma. What you do in your current life will dictate how your life is in the next cycle. In Genshin Impact, we've seen this term pop up a couple of times. Prior to Fontaine, two of the most notable examples were when the sages trapped the entire city of Sumeru in a never-ending samsara of the Sub-Zero festival, forcing them to relive the same day over and over, and the other being when Rukkhadevata told Nahida she was her in the new Samsara cycle.
Judging from your appearance, I've probably been dead for 500 years. But you're finally here. My new self in the Samsara.
What Greater Lord Rukkhadevata meant by, quote, new Samsara cycle was a bit of a mystery until a few months ago when the final Narcissan core fuck that word. World's Quest came out and gave us another satisfactory lore drop as it pertains to the truth of Teyvat. A piece of paper on the ground at the Tower of writes, the Narcissan oh my god, I can't do this. Look at all these words, man. The Ordo believes that people continuously refine themselves through Samsara cycles. These include Hyperborea, Notlantion, Remuria, in the first half of the fourth Samsara, Chronoria, which we are presently experiencing. Please take note that these are just names given to the eras by the Ordo based on ancient texts, and this evolution refers to spiritual evolution. There is no intent here to antagonize any research results obtained by the academia. The human spirit undergoes the loss of paradise, the defeat of evil dragons, the original sin and baptism, and finally, freedom from the gods. This paragraph is interesting because it actually tells us a lot. It says the Narcissan core believes that there have been 4 Samsara cycles thus far, and labels each one Hyperborea, Notlantion, Remuria, and the cycle we are currently in, Chronoria. These terms are derived from the real-world religion of Theosophy, which as far as I'm aware is just a big puzzle that tries to explain how everything in the universe is connected. It says the people don't just live one life but go through many lives, like a Samsara, and the good or the bad things that they do affect happens to them in the future. It also talks about the invisible spiritual beings and suggests that by being kind and trying to understand the bigger picture, people can become better and help make the world a better place. But they also, you know, believe in shit like the secret society and masters and adepts and Atlantis. Funnily enough, good for them, good for them. They all follow the teachings of their founder, Helena Blavatsky. One of the things Helena most infamously wrote about was the root race, which aimed to capture the stages of human evolution. One root race is a stage in human evolution, and Helena believed there were 7. I'm only going to talk about the ones relevant to the world of Genshin Impact, and they are the second root race, Hyperborean, which states that this is when humans first got their physical bodies and resided in a place called Hyperborea. Hyperborea was said to be a utopian area where the early people resided and the sun always shined. The third root race, the Lemurians, lived in a place called, well, Lemuria, 34 million years ago. God damn, nigga! They were said to be bigger than us, and they laid eggs, and they lived alongside the dinosaurs. The fourth root race were the Atlanteans, which, you might have guessed, lived in Atlantis. It's said that the Atlanteans were a highly developed people, almost utopian-esque. They were brought to ruin when some of the people started practicing black magic, corrupted by the dragon Teyvat. Over time, the people of Atlantis became selfish, proud, arrogant, even, and some even went to use the black magic to create an army of chimeras with them. Eventually, Atlantis would sink. Womp womp. The current root race is the Aryan, which is the most boring because it's literally just us right now, living chilling, no black magic, no epic war with the wizards in Atlantis, no giant humans laying eggs alongside the dinosaurs. We're just chilling. In Genshin Impact, the Narcissenkroi had their own description of each root cycle, which was the loss of paradise for Hyperborea, the defeat of evil dragons for Nalantian, original sin and baptism in Rumeria, and freedom from the gods in Conria. It's Conria, guys, come on. There's also these little keys that provide a little more context, such as telling us the world was covered in ice during Hyperborea, and humans triumphed over evil during Nalantian. One thing I want you to keep in mind is that there have been 4 cycles thus far, and we conveniently have, probably not conveniently, but purposefully have 4 descenders, each of whom came during a different cycle. I say this due to timing. For instance, during Hyperborea, it said the world was frozen. This matches up with the Prayers of Illumination set, which writes, quote, "Once upon a time, the people of the land could hear revelations from Celestia directly. The envoys of the gods walked among benighted humanity then. In those days, life was weak and the earth was blanketed in unending ice." Funnily enough, the set also goes on to mention a cyclical earth and writes, quote, "All prosperity must someday end, but this does not mean that nothing is eternal. At the end of a cycle, the earth shall be renewed, thus eternity is cyclical. The search for truth is a product of prosperity and not the seeds that plants it." Due to the fact that this was during an era in which Celestia gave humans blessings, just like that which is mentioned in Before Sun and Moon, I'm inclined to believe the descender of the Hyperborea era was the primordial one, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars. It's said that during the Hyperborea era, there was a loss of paradise, which coincides with what happened during the end of this period. The one unified civilization went away, causing Enconomia to sink, didn't cause that, but the Zeali race died, and Celestia's attitude towards humanity shifted greatly in what I think may have been the advent of the Nalantian era, the arrival of the second throne of the heavens, also known as the Second Who Came, someone who I believe to be the Dragon King Nibelung. Remember what Nalantian is all about: defeats over the evil dragon. There was none more an evil dragon than the Dragon King Nibelung, who brought forbidden knowledge and the power of darkness over to Teyvat for the first time, trying to overthrow Celestia, causing the earth to be completely destroyed. Remember how in Theosophy, Atlantis was said to have been plagued with arrogant people, dabbing in black magic corrupted by the dragon, and they even created their own army of chimeras using this magic? I believe Nibelung to be the basis for this. If he was the dragon, the black magic was the power of the abyss, and we replaced chimeras with rift wolves, we get an exact copy of what happened in Conria. One thing I cannot for the life of me figure out then is why this is under Nalantian and not Conria or whatever. It's just say Conria, man. Anyway, the third root race, Remuria, was called the original sin and baptism, and for this one it's a bit tough. I get it's talking about Egeria creating humans in Remuria, but so far as I'm aware, that had nothing to do with the third descender. I believe it may be divided into 2 parts, and maybe the third descender's sacrifice is related to baptism. Baptism is a spiritual rebirth, which is essentially what Teyvat went through when the third descender arrived. Thanes no longer had absolute authority, so instead a new order was made to be upheld with the Gnosis, that play an important role in Teyvat even today. However, at the time of Rumeria, the Archon War was already going on, which means the Gnosis must have already been made. It's all... we don't know enough about the third descender, unless I'm missing something, which that could very well be the case. And finally, obviously, for the Conria, I wonder where that one is found. No, Conria, let me just say Conria, who may have summoned the Traveler sibling trying to break free from their fates. Destiny, also known as Celestia, which is the abode of the gods. Freedom from the gods. That one's it's pretty simple. That one is. The one big mystery surrounding that, however, is why then the Traveler sibling isn't a descender. That's quite the mystery. That's the biggest question we got right now. Why isn't the sibling a descender? If anyone could tell me, feel free to let me know. I've already discussed this. I made a video about why this could be the case, but we'll see. Ultimately, we can see similarities throughout cycles. For instance, there have been many arrogant people that ended up with Celestia wiping out their nation, be it the early people of Fontaine, Conria, or whomever we haven't discovered yet. However, this is only one part of a Samsara Cycle theory, and I only chose to focus mainly on the Descenders because it seemed like the most interesting parts. But there are more parts to this theory. Man, it's so confusing, dog.